Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very special show. I know I say that all the time. It's always a special show, but it's Parkinson's Awareness Month. And Parkinson's disease is a very prevalent malady. It's going around the world. I read statistically there's over 6 million people who are experiencing Parkinson's in one form or another. And what's unusual about today's show is we have two people we're talking to. Is Rick Shapiro and his lovely wife, Tracy. And you'll see momentarily that Tracy's going to be a big help for us today because she's got a lot of information. So
do I. I started with Booty Tang and ended up at Project X. All right, go. I'm just kidding. Go.
Well, I'm specifically.
I made a joke.
I'm specifically aware of it because, as I've said to you off camera, I haven't shared this with anybody before, but I too have Parkinson's, and I'm real aware of what it is and what we're doing about it, and what we need to do to at least find some way of palliating what's going on with the symptoms. But I did say to you guys before we went on that one of the most encouraging things I read in doing the research for the show is you don't die from it, you die with it. So it's not a disease that is necessarily fatal, but it does affect your life. And I wanted to have somebody on the show today who can talk about how it's affected their life for as long as they've had the disease as it was diagnosed. So tell us a little bit about who you are, Rick, and what you've been doing and what you're still doing.
That's so funny. I'm usually asking people what they do so I don't have to think about mine. And I can just stand there. But I don't know. I didn't pay attention to it. She would make these appointments.
Yeah, tell them what you are. So my husband is an actor, a comedian,
and a wild man,
and an author and a painter.
I see the painting behind you.
That's
looks
one of
pretty
them.
Nice.
Thank you.
Pretty good. I guess, limitations are just that, limitations. How you deal with it and how you treat it is the important part of it all. So tell us a little bit about your history. I know your wife just told us what you do, but
we broke up for a while. Can I tell them that?
No, there's no reason to say that. So talk about when you got diagnosed.
When I got diagnosed, I don't remember. Look, I'm just gonna tell them. See, we had broken up, and I was not a great guy, and I was living with two girls eventually, and then a third homeless one, and a homeless guy he said, I'm your new house manager. All these girls gotta go. So I'm talking to my wife on the phone.
How long have you had it, Rick?
Rick got diagnosed in 2012. It was in 2013, and he got diagnosed at the Mayo Clinic. In 2012, he basically looked at me, said he didn't feel well, and we went to the hospital. From that point on, there was nobody knew what was wrong with him, and we were in the ER every month. Once we finally met a doctor who said, I don't know, take him to the Mayo Clinic, which was the smartest thing that anyone had ever said to us.
Dr. Steve?
No, not Dr. Steve. And so we went to the Mayo Clinic. The doctor looked at him, diagnosed him, and said, let's do the test. And he literally just looked at him, looked him up and down, and said, Parkinson's, let's do the test. And so he did what's called the DAT exam. It's DAT. It's a DAT scan. And that scan will monitor or register the amount of dopamine in your brain. And Rick was down to 30%, whereas he should be at 100%. So from that point forward, we knew what we were working with and the steps that had to be done. The great thing about when he got diagnosed was that he continued working for a period of time. So, we were very lucky about that.
And the doctor out here in New Jersey said, "Are you still doing you?" Go ahead, you tell him.
So every doctor has given us a different perspective.
I'm a comedian, and an actor, right? But I'm a comedian. All these things that I do pull at the disease and kind of give it a punch. PUNCH. And so I'm not used to, I know how to avoid it and then go on stage and tell everybody I'm great or whatever. I have a joke that says, gay cures Parkinson. So when I'm straight, I'm like, when I'm gay, I'm gay. I can move my arms. I can be understood. I'm gay. But if I act straight, I'm like, could you hand me that boxing glove for a second, please? You know what I mean? Instead of gay, give me the one with sparkles.
So you're still working, huh?
Yeah.
Well, one of the
I'm
doctors.
getting back into getting paid, but I'm working at a spot once or twice a week called the Peach. It's a great art gallery. Like, it's big, it's nice. Where is it?
In Florida, in West Palm Beach.
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up in West Palm Beach. I swear to God. That must have been one of my must have been my nightly tours down the bottom of my rabbit hole skull. Whatever. That was lyrical, yet no profound meaning unless you listen to it. But
We were talking. You mentioned a few minutes ago, Tracy, Dr. Steve.
Yeah.
We've done a podcast with him, so all the medical issues have been addressed. We know all of that. The purpose of this show is mainly to talk about the effect that it's had and what we're doing about it to either minimize the symptoms or treat it as best we can. So,
well, with that, there are.
Oh,
you go first. When we go first.
You go first.
So there's 5 elements. There's 5 ways to manage it. It's sleep. Are you sleeping? From what I understand, most Parkinson's people have sundowners or they're doing increments of sleeping. No matter how much sleeping medication, they're still up. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, low stress, and then the medicine. Number 5 is the medicine. So if you're not managing your exercise, sleeping, eating well, then you're really in a raging battle. One of our best friends who died recently had Parkinson's, and he was Alex. He was an international biking person. He would ride his bicycle. They called him the 1,000,000-meter man, and he was getting through this disease. And he had young onset, so he was getting through this disease exercising. So Judge, you mentioned your boxing. Rock Steady is an amazing activity because it's that mind-body connection.
we're going to talk about that because I mentioned it in my class yesterday. Our class, by the way, consists of about 20 people, all of whom have Parkinson's. And the program is designed specifically with Parkinson's treatment. And so we follow a pretty regular regimen, which we can talk about, among which is boxing.
Right.
And we box a half hour. Before we do that, we do warm-ups. And after that, we work with weights and things like that. And ultimately, it runs about an hour and a quarter. And it's remarkable. The program is absolutely remarkable. Rock Steady Boxing is what it's called. And they're nationwide. And they're pretty much all over. And they also have a Zoom, so you could watch it and participate in it.
You don't have to run around the gym and go, hey, you guys got any carbon? You know what? You guys got any carbon? Leave us alone, Rick. Rick, go sit and practice your punches. But I'd be better with carbon. I don't need exercise. That was me.
Rick wants the
That's a
medicine. He
little
wants the
vignette.
medicine, but there's also another side effect of the medicine called dopamine dysregulation syndrome, which is something that the caretakers, really have to be conscious of, because the dopamine dysregulation syndrome is they want more. They just want more of the medicine, no matter how well the medicine is working. So that's what he's talking about.
Well, there are a variety of different symptoms. I was reading about it this morning. Affects people in different ways. There's cognitive, which is the ability to basically reason, think, memory, and things of that nature. And I can tell you that when I was diagnosed, I was still on the bench. And even though I didn't discuss it with anybody, I know it made no difference whatsoever in my analysis, my research, and my decision-making process. So cognitive is important. The other is more motor, and motor obviously means physical limitations. So tell us how each of those has affected your life, Rick. First motor and then non-motor, if you can.
So first, physically.
I don't know. What do I know?
Well, physically, he spends, a portion.
Right now, I'm kind of a mess because the rigidity it's not in. But I know how. As soon as I break out into a riff or a joke, I'm okay. Good on stage.
How does the audience react to you?
You hear that question?
What did you say?
How does the audience react to you knowing that you have some kind of disability?
Yeah, I don't look at it like that. I come up like I first came up and I didn't know what they would do, and I went on stage and I said, I have Parkinson's, and they looked at me and I said, but don't worry, it's not like I came up here and said, hi, I have Parkinson's. Can you please laugh at all my jokes and vote for me for Last Comic Dead? And they really put my energies out more, so they understand what. And I told them a story about, and the truth is I know how to kill. So they always, I wouldn't quit until they always got it.
Well, I understand that from looking at your bio, that when you are actually performing, your speech is better than when you're not performing. Is that not accurate?
Completely true.
Yes.
She reminded me of that too.
And one of the doctors, we were seeing Dr. Tagliati in California, but one of the doctors said, you're going to have to live your life as if you're on the stage. You have to be on for the rest of your life, because otherwise those muscles and that consciousness is going to decrease. So, for him to say a joke, if he says it loud as if he's on stage, you'll hear him perfectly.
Yeah, because obviously there's some difficulty in understanding in this media, I guess we are. And I'm just trying to explore how this has affected your life other than your work.
There's many ways that it's explored, from having help in the house to having tools that create a better functioning atmosphere.
Yeah, because my friends were all in New York, and I flew out to a place where I don't know anyone particularly, and the ones I did weren't they weren't friends enough for a long enough time to go, sure, I'll pick you up to take you to an AA meeting.
Right. So if people are picking them up, if the people are picking him up, they're also taking the wheelchair and they're watching after the medications and, for what he's allowed to take, as far as from anxiety to pain pills. It's not.
I'm going to be good in about an hour.
It's not as easy as,
just pick the wrong time, damn it. You pick the wrong time. My son can't talk until he wants to. and he rebels against that. So now he only talks when nobody wants to hear him.
How's that? Do you hear that character?
And when they do,
Oh,
when they do hear him, they say, "We still can't understand you goddamn you joke." No, they get me, Dad. Well, I'm getting you back from heaven, so I win. Isn't that a sad little ploy of mash words creating a miasma of menstrual head wounds? All right, now it's your turn.
well, people really want to know, I think, how progressive the disease is, because the shock of being told that you have this disease is a shock. And so there's a lot of history that it can stay quiet for a long, long time, and you might not even know it. In fact, you look at the celebrities that are out there, whether it's Neil Diamond or Janet Reno or Linda Ronstadt or Brett Favre, these are people who all have Parkinson's. And yet, when they're interviewed, you'd never know it.
Yeah,
But they're also very
Tony, you go ahead.
they're also very new in their disease. When Rick got diagnosed in 2013, I would say a week later, we were on the radio and we announced that he's got it 1 week later. And the reason that we did that was to push away the rumors. Oh, is he on heroin? Oh, what's wrong with him? Why does he sweat so much? Why can't he
Those
walk?
were the good rumors.
Yeah. But as soon as we made that announcement, a lot of people said it all made sense. It all made sense. And then also with Rick, he decided to deny it for many years. And by denying it, he was able to function for the first, you got 5 years of manifesting before the actual diagnosis. And then you got 5 years of functioning time, where no one's going to see anything. It's after that time frame that it's really going to become in effect.
Or as I like to call it, doing jokes in Jersey.
Well, you still got a good sense of humor.
Humor, Joe. I know you're very serious, but the audience can still understand you when you make a joke.
Well, that's good that they understand the jokes. I'm not sure people understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was still going to court. In fact, I still go to court, and it has had no effect whatsoever. I mean, the head bobbing and all of that is obviously a symptom, but the reality is nobody would know unless you told them.
Right. Well, if you look
That's
at Rick
right.
now, you'll see in comparison, Rick's not shaking at all because he doesn't have the shaky
I
kind.
can spot it.
You know,
I don't have a shape.
He has the stiffness. So each diagnosis is going to render different symptoms to each person. Linda Ronstadt's going to lose her voice. Michael J. Fox, he couldn't, he acted for a while, but then had to discontinue. And also how your doctors are treating you. Is it going to be DBS? Is it going to be, higher forms or different forms of carbidopa? It's all going to affect those symptoms.
What do you think is being done right now in terms of developing treatment?
Well, the first thing is this.
The box is the
This
newest
thing.
thing.
What is that thing?
So this is called a duopa pump. I'm going to take it out. It goes from the machine. This is the machine. This is the cartridge with liquid carbidopa. And then this tube goes into his stomach, bypasses the stomach into the upper intestines, and that's where the medicine is released. He wears that 24 hours a day. And with that, we've gone from in a wheelchair full time to walking like you and I.
Back in the wheelchair.
Oh, he's back in a wheelchair on occasion. Hold on.
No, I'm not back in the wheelchair.
Yeah, he's back. He's in a wheelchair on occasion, but he's functioning. And when the doctor he's at stage 4. He has stage 4 Parkinson's, and this box has changed the trajectory of his disease. Now, this is a first generation device. The second generation of this is coming out shortly in the second half of 2025, and that will be released, and it won't be this big gigantic box, which is about 5 pounds to wear around his neck 24 hours a day. I don't know how to pronounce the second one, but I do have the spelling of it. But that'll become, say it again.
Do you think that we are really making progress in the treatment of this disease?
I think that I think the progress is being made.
The way your grade is, go ahead.
I think progress is being made not in the treatment, but in the, they're trying to stop the progress of the medicine. They're trying to make sure that, this disease doesn't take you out as fast as it has. So where if I took this box off of Rick, he is completely wheelchair bound. There's no movement at all.
Really?
And with the box, he's able to walk. So that is an improvement. And that only came out in December of 2023. So now there's a new form of it coming out in the second half of 2025.
And
So
how is it different?
That will be it's, I forgot the word, it's subcutaneous, more like the diabetes medicine. So it won't go into, it won't be surgically put in through the stomach to the intestines. It's, go ahead, Rick.
I didn't read my spiritual stuff this morning, so that helps me. But the thing is, I had an important question. What I'm interested in, how important communicating it is for us to the community that helps us, make it more common known among anyone. What I'm trying to say is, do you find they always say they understand, but my wife understands a hell of a lot. She does more than I would understand. She does so much, but I feel like they don't understand when I say I can't bend. They might say, yes, you can. Just do it." And so, but they don't wonder why is he still stuttering if he can move his back. He must be fine. I mean,
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because
communicate.
of the 20 people in our class, a lot of times you can't tell that anybody's got anything. You see some people with tremors, and some people have other issues, but for the most part, everybody seems kind of normal. And I think the exercise and the design of the program has made all the difference in the world. I could see the difference in the people that I've been with for the 2 years I've been at Rocksteady, and it's remarkable the progress that's being made by people just by doing the exercise and the program.
Now, have you heard of the program Big and Loud?
No, I haven't.
So that's another treatment, physical treatment that was created for people with Parkinson's disease, and it's called Big and Loud. And the philosophy is big movements and using a big voice.
The reason it's harder for me now is someone sitting so close to me. I actually had to tell people, like, I think there's a side effect of claustrophobia. I'm not making a joke. It's like, you don't understand, Tracy, I want to sit next to you, but I feel like I can't. I changed my speech. Little things. That's why I gotta get back into boxing. Because it gives you great motor return. I call it.
Well, we do a lot of counting out loud, because
Yeah.
one of the symptoms of Parkinson's is voice. Sometimes the voice drops very low. And so in our exercise program, we count, whether it's throwing punches at the bag or lifting weights, whatever it is, we count. And that's why the program is designed for so many different things. In fact, in the boxing portion, I know it sounds like a promo for Rocksteady Boxing, but the reality is
Sounds like you need to hear about it.
Help your memory. In other words, when you have a combination of punches, and by the way, you don't hit the people, you have a bag for that. Nobody gets hurt. But the bottom line is a sequence that you have to remember. So it trains your memory as well as whatever else you're doing, whether it's stretching or lifting weights or tossing a ball, a big ball around, whatever. Everything is designed for that. Yeah. And I can honestly say that it's made an enormous difference in my life and in my family's life. And my son is a physician, so he kind of watches
what did he
how I'm doing.
Did he look for anything interesting? What does he do? Neurologist?
No, he's actually he's a epidemiologist, but he's trained internal medicine. So he's in New York, by the way. So we do a lot of things telephonically. But I wanted to have you on the show, Rick, because I want the public to see that this is not a death sentence.
Yeah,
It's very important that people don't react when they're told what it is. And there's so many different degrees. You mild, vascular, motor, whatever. You need to see a very good neurologist. And whether the medication works for you or not, I suppose depends on who you are. People are going to have different responses and different effects from whatever it is you're taking. And carbidopa, levodopa has seemed to be the usual medication for people with the disease. And it is what it is, you know. You have to. I always use the expression. I just mentioned it. It is what it is, and so part of it is acceptance. And I want people to know that you have to start with the acceptance of what it is, and recognize that it's not the end of the game. That there's ways, and hopefully, with the Parkinson's Foundation, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, we're going to make progress. It's just like you're talking about that new instrument, the new mechanical instrument. That's where we're going. And that's why it's called Parkinson's Awareness Month. People need to know what it is, what is available, and how to deal with it, because it is part of your life, whether you like it or you don't.
No.
So with that in mind,
No.
I want to thank you, Rick, for being on the podcast today, because I think it's important everybody sees.
Are you ending it early? Are you ending it early on purpose because I sucked?
I'm sorry?
Because I just partied. Did you end it early because I sucked at communicating?
Oh no. We have a kind of a limit, because people have a very short attention span, and if you go on and on, they're already thinking about what they're going to do later. So we try to limit the podcast to usually 45 minutes or less. It had nothing to do with you. I'm just glad you're here. You certainly are cognizant, because you're responsive to the questions. So that tells you that doesn't necessarily have to affect your mind either. It may affect you physically. And I tell people, by the way, that I'm truly blessed that it's more of a physical thing than a mental one.
The chewing.
So anyway, I want to wish you the best. As they say in showbiz, break a leg.
Let me say something.
Actually, you can't say that to somebody with Parkinson's, but I know that the expression is out there: break a leg, enjoy the rest of the ride, and that's what it is. It's a ride.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate the effort.
Nice not being heard.
Okay, bye.
Be well now.
Be well.
Good night.
All right.